Now, ahead of a brand new episode of Kent Film Club, it's time to catch up on the very latest film and TV headlines. Well, to do that, the presenter of the show, Chris DC, joins me now. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Finn.
Hiya. Now, first of all, let's talk a bit about Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. Now, this is the third film after the original and Glass Onion. So, in your experience, can a third instalment of a murder mystery really keep up that intrigue of an audience?
Well, this is, as you said, the sequel to Glass Onion. Now, Glass Onion was very similar to the first, but of course we had the same lead, but it took us in different directions. And so they're very good at looking at different genres within the detective series. So this one is supposed to be, was it the most scary or the most hard-hitting? And do you know, the audiences for this, when you consider that we've always had all those Agatha Christie adaptations with Kenneth Branagh playing Poirot, and I thought, how's this one going to work? But it works so well because it's faithful to the sort of expectations that people like from this genre, but it's also subverting them. And of course, you've got a character here, and it's sort of difficult to trace his origins. You can't not think this was the guy who played James Bond, but it's almost like he's parodying himself with an accent that seems to waver between sort of something like, the Florida, outback or something. Now, what I found really interesting is that this came out at the same time as some of those Kenneth Branagh films, but it packed out the audiences. So what I would always find is that I think for the last one, for Glass Onion, it spent a week in the cinemas, but then went straight onto Netflix. So I saw it, I think, once, and it was a completely packed out screening at the Curzon in Canterbury. So it's due out in December, just before Christmas. So I think it's guaranteed to do well. So I think expectations should be pretty high for this.
Brilliant. As far as expectations go, I have to say, me personally, Marvel movies for me have just gone in a slow kind of decline. But people are excited for the new Fantastic Four film, First Steps. And obviously with this film, as you can see right there, we've got a whole new lineup. And it's kind of almost the curse of the Fantastic Four movies, who went from 4 completely different actors 3 different times. This is the third reboot. Can a third reboot really work?
Well, they tried this with Ghostbusters, didn't they? And we had an all-female Ghostbusters. So they tried different things, and it's, I mean, the one actually that was set of Ghostbusters, not in New York, but set in the countryside, appealed to me because it did something genuinely different. Whether this will work with, I know Vanessa Kirby is in it, great British actress. I do kind of feel with this that there will be an audience for it, but it does feel that they've tried a few too many times to reboot the franchise. We have a new Superman film, so from Marvel to the other DC, and that I think looks, the trailer looks very promising. But again, it's a case of, are they going to go for an origin story? Is it going to have any resemblance to the predecessors? The same with the Batman films. Are they going to reboot it? Is it going to be an origin story? Are they going to try and set it in a different period? So it's due. It'll be the big release in the week that the children break up from school, the last week of July.
I know what you mean. With the Spider-Man films, they did that particularly with Tom Holland. They deliberately didn't do the origin story, so it's very interesting to see those differences there. Now we'll move on to another one, Shrek 5. Now, recent reactions have been particularly negative. I remember when the Sonic movie came out, they almost were so bad that the audience forced the studio to change the actual look of the character. Do you think that could happen here? I mean, Shrek in particular looks very different to how he looked in the first 4 movies, and they've gone, 5th movie, we'll change it.
Well, it's due out next year. Now, that's a good point, because Sonic, as we've talked about on the show before, has done really well with audiences, but not so well, of course, with the critics. So again, you see, this franchise started in 2001. So there's always that question, are they going to be able to find enough in this to excite a new generation? And well, we'll find out in a year's time. So, interesting that the trailer is out, where this is, 12 months in advance, word of mouth. Will it live up to expectations?
It's a good question. And do you think there's a little bit of Universal Pictures trying to appeal to a bit more of a Gen Z audience? In the trailer, there's a bit more sort of TikTok humour and things like that. What do you make of that?
Well, they have to, because I think when you think of the first Shrek film, of course, Daisy is one of her favourite films, so she'd be better placed than me to answer. But back in 2001, I was really struck at how a film with artists like Mike Myers or Eddie Murphy doing voiceovers were getting BAFTA nominations in the acting categories. So Shrek, has it's riding a wave of expectation. Whether it'll fulfil those or not, for anything that's 25 years old, I think it will be interesting to see, because I did see the first Shrek film when it came out in 2001.
Wow. Amazing. I wasn't even born yet. Sorry to give you that one.
Yes.
Lastly, we'll move on to The Amateur. Now, you actually know why we're talking about The Amateur.
I do, because this house, because it's set in Virginia, and you have Rami Malek's character who works for the CIA. But interestingly, this was filmed in Kent, not too far from here. So there's a place in Kent which does exteriors of American houses. And of course, with all these around Trump's tariffs, you know, whether there's a future in Kent for American films, we don't know. But there was a funny scene where Rami Malek was talking about the locations for this film, and he said, Kent, that's near Canterbury, right?
Yeah, we can see some images there of Rami Malek's main character on the screen. And it's particularly interesting. I mean, Kent has multiple different sort of spots in movies, my favourite being Johnny English. I think he was driving to Dover, I believe, in his little car. But yeah, so interesting. We'll see about that one when it comes out. But thank you so much for joining us, Chris.
Absolute pleasure.
We can catch up with you on the Kent Film Club playing right after this.